Welcome back. One of my favorite things about being so privileged as to host a regular television community program is to hang out with people from our community who have the good vibes that makes it obvious why they have become successful in media. As I said at the outset of the show, in some ways, it's a show about cars, but in the end, isn't it always the people that you want to hang out with when you are in your free viewing time? And these two guys, man, they're so good energy. They're great to have around. They are starting their third season. They are seasoned podcasters. They are media pros. They are the hosts of Everyday Driver. It's Todd Deacon and Paul Schmucker.
Thanks for
Fellas,
having us, man. Terry, thanks for having us
welcome back. Good to
nice
see you
to
guys.
I'm also glad to be here, like, not at the crack of dawn.
Well, that too.
It's good.
I mean,
plus we get longer to talk about cars. We've been talking about this. Hey, we got to come back so we can talk
Yes.
longer about cars.
Yes.
Which is pretty much what we do.
and here we are.
Yeah.
So let's get right to it.
Sure.
First and foremost, give a background for folks who may not be familiar with the program. Tell them how you got started and how things are.
How long do we have? Only an hour? Wow. Okay.
Yeah. We got to limit it.
Wow. We started the show in LA. We both lived in LA at the time. I moved here in 2010. Paul moved here a couple years ago. But we started the show in LA. And we just started as a show for, okay, let's get people in fun cars they can afford. I love the exotic stuff. I love the crazy hot stuff, Sideways in a Cloud of Smoke. That's great.
Right.
It doesn't relate to, I have to get groceries and the kids need to be picked up from school.
Well, yeah.
Absolutely.
You know? So, but there are still fun cars there that we can get people into. So the TV show started from that. We actually started it as a TV show, but shopped it in 2008, thinking about what was going on. That didn't go well. So we built up an audience on YouTube.
Great, we love your stuff.
Yeah, and then have worked our way
Got-
back to Velocity, which is great. And then, of course, along the way, picked up a podcast. We do a podcast twice a week. And the podcast is even more focused. The TV show is obviously broad enough for everybody. But the podcast drills right down to people that write in and go, I'm looking for a car, and here's my situation. We go, great, drive these things.
Yeah, I mean, we started on YouTube when it was
Right.
family vacation photos back in
Yeah, it was
2
like
years
cat
after it
videos and
started.
us. Yeah.
Pretty much. We started in 2007 and then really got serious by 2009 and then took it further, and we've lived on the web for a long time, but been fortunate now to just introduce it to television, Amazon, and get it into a lot of other outlets, which has been really great. And growing knowledge and awareness of the show, which the podcast has done, interestingly.
Isn't that interesting that
Surprising
full
to me.
circle of
For sure.
one medium and one platform informing the others and also creating value that means that you have an opportunity to talk to a broadcaster.
Well, that, and people say, well, I didn't know you do a podcast. All I knew was your YouTube videos. And,
Right.
and people who listen to us on the podcast say, you make films and videos?
It's like, wait, seriously?
Are you kidding me?
this is revolutionary information.
But it's
Wow.
cool to now find people. And one of the big questions we ask when we bump into people that have seen our work or heard our work or whatever, I always ask, how did you discover the show?
Yeah.
Because now you never know where they're coming in from, which is really fun.
Absolutely. So, El Seasono. I'm getting my Spanish lesson from the couch.
We're joking about this before we start
Numero
rolling.
tres.
We were trying to figure out how many crazy ways we could say season 3, but the
Yeah.
result is it's season 3, which is nuts. Season 2 was first quarter of this year. So here we are starting third quarter. That's going to be season 3. We're already, I can't believe I'm saying this because I'm not even done editing season 3. We're already talking season 4
Yeah, I was
beginning
gonna say,
2019.
he's editing season 3 right now, so his headspace is still right now before it even debuts. I'm thinking about getting cars and what are we going to do for this year's film,
sure,
and
producing.
my headspace is into talking to
for
people
sure.
about, hey, the car comparisons that we have way more ideas than time and money, so we have to figure out what is that exactly going to
Right.
result in.
Yeah.
I would think so.
One of the episodes this season is actually the new JK Jeep Wrangler. It's the Rubicon.
JL, yeah.
JL. JK? JL.
brand new one.
Brand new one.
Great choice. Our director, Robbie Johnson, big Jeep
Okay.
guy.
There you go.
In fact, he wasn't available for tonight's show, so we have an Android working the controls, and he's out
fantastic.
jeeping right now.
Understandable.
As
Yes.
you do when you have a
Yes.
Jeep. Anyway, so FCA calls me and says, we've got this Jeep in Moab. They know we're Utah-based. Hey, would you guys like to film this Jeep? Todd and I are not rock crawler, off-road kinds of guys
Right, and that's a
to begin
skill
with.
set.
Yeah.
It's
Very
not just
much
like,
so.
hey, bomb around.
So we thought, why don't we do this and add it as an episode and kind of integrate it? So things just have happened this season, which has been great, and we hope for more of that. Kind of just be fluid, be up for whatever for season 4.
For sure.
Very cool. It's exciting.
Yeah.
Should we take a look? You've been kind enough to share with us a little preview of the season, and I think in a lot of ways really encapsulates the entire show, which I'm sure was by intention.
Very much so.
All right then, ladies and gentlemen, the first release of the preview right here on
Yep.
Park City Television. Thank you so much for this.
Absolutely.
Season 3 of Everyday Driver. I gotta say, a lovely piece, and really, I think communicates the car appeal, but also does a great job of showing you guys having a good time.
Well, thank you. This turned out to be a very interesting season for us because it's
yeah.
very tech heavy with the Bolt and the Model 3, as you saw.
Right.
We have some rock crawling. We have classic Mustangs. It's a wide variety,
yeah.
actually more than we planned for this season.
In 6 episodes, we go a lot more places than we expected to range-wise in that 6 episodes. I mean, just the juxtaposition, literally, episode 1 is the electrics and episode 6 is rock crawling Moab. Just those two is a lot of range. We did all this other stuff in the middle. It's been so much fun, though. I can't even tell you.
And I would imagine that at this point, you guys have a lot of experience, not just in production, but in producing this show.
Sure.
I'm guessing that you're more able to, I don't want to say cram things in. It sounds like a negative way to put it. Obviously,
You mean
storytelling.
during a shoot?
And
Totally. No.
You're talking about during a shoot?
Well, but we can be really light on our feet.
Anytime.
Anytime?
The
Well-
Jeep thing he brought up earlier is a great point, because we went from what do we do with this Jeep to let's go to Moab and shoot an episode over the course of about 40 hours before we left. You know, because
Which
we have
was
that,
crazy,
that ability
yeah.
to just be like, wait, if we grab these cameras, we leave here, we plan for this, we can pull this off. And that's a combination of the fact that we're a really small crew. We have a local shooter named Chance and a great guy named Edgar in LA that shoot for us, depending upon where we are, because about half our shoots are in LA now.
Right.
So we vary. But those guys are they're ready for anything. We have just really tight crew and cameras, and we're a small footprint. I mean, you think about, you drive by a production, you drive by trucks for 3 blocks, and now you get there.
Yeah.
We're just guys with cameras
Green
that can shoot well.
M&Ms. Only
Yes,
come on.
exactly, Van Halen.
That comes next season. So that's the thing, is that we're light enough on our feet to just be like,
Yeah.
let's do that idea and chase it right now, which is fun.
So what this has turned into is we now go on fun drives and we don't shoot, we don't take a camera, and we have to do that because on a shoot, we're just driving short stretches just for the camera and thinking about production schedules and getting the schedule done and getting through the day just so we can finish the shoot.
Right.
And now, people say, well, you just drove that fun car. I'm like, well, I drove it for that far on camera.
Right. You
And then I
don't
drove-
understand my pain.
But that's the thing, I mean, that's still crazy
So we go
fun.
on fun drives just for, no cameras.
Right.
Well, that's still
Great.
crazy fun, but it is funny to talk to my wife and be like, I'm going to go for a drive this week. And she's like, didn't you just with the...
Guys,
Yeah.
you do this all the time. Like,
Always
no, I
drive.
like
who
500
are you
feet.
even?
It's crazy. It's awesome.
That's all we did.
That's so cool.
So yeah.
Has it? And I realize that within your world, so to speak, and because you shoot half the time in LA, which is a very important place for car companies.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah.
Have things turned around as far as people knowing who you are in the industry more? Are you kind of there where, like, if you can kind of pick up the phone and say to XYZ
Yes,
person?
yes, you're right. It just hasn't made it easier necessarily to get cars because there's so many people demanding press cars from you name it, from Horse and Hound magazine over here to about the
Cat
new
Fancy.
Cat Fancy over
wants
here
the
to
Pininfarina.
They
Seriously.
do, and
Seriously,
they
it's
vet
nuts.
you out. They
That's
kind of
it.
say, "What do you want to do with the car?" Now they know us, and they kind of want to know what car are you going to put it with now?
Yeah,
because
'cause they know
we've got
that
our
too,
own
yeah.
ideas for here's the comparison we want to do,
Right.
and sometimes our idea about it is price based, and they're already thinking about this luxury manufacturer they want to compete against,
Right.
which doesn't match up because we're thinking
Right.
we were just talking price. You can get this over here for that. Why not get this used thing? That's our idea for episodes, but the car manufacturers aren't always on board with that.
Sure.
So they think, you know what? We'd rather you put it with the BMW or do this, and then those cars might not be available on the same date. So that's what gets tough. But yes, we are more recognized. Which is helpful.
Sometimes the car you see on a magazine that is on every magazine the same month that's the exact, not only the exact same model, that's the exact same car.
that car.
Right.
So each of those magazines had to get it at a different time so they could all have it out this month. So some cars, I mean, literally, you'd think about the whole nation. There's got to be 20 of those for the press. No, there's that one.
Or they're at the press launch,
Yeah.
which everybody's writing
Yeah,
the same
yeah.
stories, consuming the same PowerPoints of information from the manufacturer saying, that's what we should say on camera about this thing.
Yeah.
We don't want it then. We want it later on when we can sort of joke and talk about, here's what we really think about it.
Yeah, and that is kind of an interesting sort of inside baseball fact about how you guys put a show together. Is that, I mean, it's easy to put a Mustang from the 1960s, and it's like you go to the guy who owns that car
Yeah.
and then talk about it and say, oh, here's how you can be in that classic car. But
Sure, but there's so much information about that car. We don't want to give you a history lesson on the car. Everybody knows about the Mustang, but what is it like now in comparison to whatever we're doing? and it's led us to some very interesting comparisons. And you know, we're shooting more in Colorado, Utah. We're kind of going to where the press cars are available, which is good. So we're pretty nimble and
for sure.
not necessarily want to go to the launch, but yeah, we like to go to get good scenery for it. So.
The post-LA boys of Everyday Driver.
Pretty much. And we're
Nice.
thrilled
Well,
by it.
it's always great to have you guys here, and I hope that you'll just come and visit. Obviously,
Love it.
we're
Yeah.
excited for the new season,
Thank you.
and many
Thank you.
congratulations for your success.
very
We're
much.
glad you're here in Utah, and of course, we love to see the local locations
Yeah,
that
that's fun
feature.
too as well. There's
Feel like
nobody
I
else shoots that.
know
It's
where you
really cool.
are.
Yeah,
That's
it's very
right.
fun.
But you guys got to come back more often. It's
Love it.
You guys have such great energy, and super proud for the success that you're having and continuing to have. And best wishes on the whole crew and to you guys for continued success. And we'll see you again soon.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Final thing before we leave: social media. Where can folks follow along?
Well, yes, we've got all the usual suspects. So it's Everyday Driver at Twitter, Everyday Driver Instagram, Facebook. Those are usually the main usual suspects, I'll say. And we post for questions before we do our podcast. So we'll say, hey, what's on your mind? It's just something
For every episode we do
interesting
that,
in
yeah.
the news, whatever's on your mind lately.
Right.
We'll post for questions like that. You can follow us. Send us an email to everydaydrivertv@gmail.com or on the website, everydaydriver.com.
And I can say these guys are super responsive. I hadn't even finished the email and hit send, and I had already gotten a response. I don't know how
We're that good.
happens,
It's
but
crazy how our internet
really,
works.
really
Yeah.
amazing.
New.
It's probably the manual transmission, right? You just get off the block.
Totally
faster.
different thing. Yeah, exactly.
Thanks, you guys. Good to
Thanks,
see
Derek.
you.
Appreciate it.
And we'll see you again soon.
Thanks.
Glad.
It's Paul and Todd. They are Everyday Driver. Fantastic guys. I completely watched this show. I love it. It's a ton of fun, and their goodness radiates. It's great to have them in the studio. Make sure to follow along on all of the social media. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to catch back up with our pal Grayson West, talk about his new life with Alpine Distillers, and of course, maybe make a cocktail or two more because we love you.